Hey everybody, putting out another video. This one is basically understanding when you're owning stocks, when to buy, when to sell. It's a question that most people seem to have when they start getting into investing. Um, the question actually came from Ali Bean. Uh, Al says, this very much feels like a stupid question. Again, there are no stupid questions. So I'm throwing it out here. A few days ago, my stocks were up and it was exciting. Then I watched them all drop the next 2, maybe 3 days. This is a recurring deal for me as I never know when to pull something out or just leave it in. The only thing I know is to invest when it's down, obviously, and then sell when it's up. Are there general indicators for when the market will be up and when it will be down? I feel like there are predictable trends that can and are exploited, and I don't know what those are. Okay, so great question. I really appreciate the interaction there. So a few things and a couple caveats to this video. First of all, this is my personal strategy. This may be different from everybody else's. This is just something that I'm comfortable with, and it's the way that works for me mentally, and I may change it as I go, as I learn more. But for right now, as of today, December 2nd, 2020, this is my personal strategy. So, another quick caveat is I'm only going to be referring to buying and selling shares of stock. This has nothing to do with options trading. This is only owning and buying and selling shares of stock in my strategy. So there are really there are 3 different categories that I put my shares of stock in. And it really comes down to understanding what your personal goals are in investing within the stock market. So, what is your goal? And the first question you should ask is, why am I investing in this stock? Right? So, let's talk about the first one here. All right. So, my first strategy is called Long-term. Again, forgive my handwriting, it's atrocious, I know. Long-term stocks, from my perspective, are ones that it's a stable company. You like the company long-term. It's been around a while. Yes, there are always going to be ebbs and flows, ups and downs. That's fine. That's to be expected. But this long-term stock is a company that you really like. It's been around a while. It's a stable company, and generally they pay dividends. Long-term could also be ETFs or index funds, right? Things that are going to be growth stocks, generally going up as time goes on, potentially paying dividends, potentially with ETFs and index funds, multiple dividends, could be monthly, could be quarterly, right? So that's long-term stocks. And generally those are ones where you buy it, maybe you get it on a very low dip. But generally, if you like the company, it's something that's stable, it's a long-term investment for you, buy it when you have enough money to purchase stocks. The next category would be short term. Now, short term is if you are looking to capitalize on, let's say, positive news about the company, or for example, there was an acquisition or a merger that occurred, or there was a great earnings call for the company, and you feel like the stock is going to go up. But this is something that is going to be short term. Not necessarily something you're going to hold on for a very long time. And again, short term, long time, short time. These are all time frames that you need to come up with whatever your specific time frame is. So short term for you could be as short as 1 week, or it could be as short as a year, right? So, it really depends on what you're comfortable with saying. This is my short-term investment, and this is how long I plan on holding this. And again, things could change. It's not. Oh, that's interesting. It's not something that. It's not something that I'm going to be able to tell you. It's something you have to decide for yourself. The next category, or the last category, there's three, would be speculative stocks. Now, speculative could mean that it's a meme stock. And what I mean by meme stock is it's a stock where it's getting a lot of traction because it's a very popular sector, right? So most recently, the most popular sector has been EVs, electric vehicles, right? So there's dozens of stocks that fall into that EV category. One of the most notable would be Tesla, or Neo, or Nikola, right? So take your pick. But then there's like dozens of others that are like penny stocks or a couple bucks to own a share, right? Speculative basically means you're going to try to buy in as low as possible, wait for it to hit that big high, right? And then sell. Now, a couple things go into a speculative stock, right? What is your threshold? And you could also consider this as part of the short-term strategy as well, right? What is your threshold for profit and loss, right? So is your, so basically, we want to understand what our thresholds are for profit and for loss, right? So maybe your comfort level for profit is 40%. And that's my comfort level for short-term and speculative stocks. Now, I could sell at 40% and it could go and jump to 100%. But I have to be okay with that. So I have to be very comfortable with that. It also could get to 35% and never get to 40 and then start to drop. So I have to be okay with that as well. Now, I also have a loss threshold. My loss threshold, wow, that's awful. My loss threshold is 25%. Okay? So again, a stock could drop to 25%, and then I could sell it for a 25% loss, and then it jumps back up. Or something could go up to 35%, I don't sell it, and then it drops the next day or a day or two later, and I'm at a 25% loss or even a 40% loss, right? So you just have to find what's comfortable for you. You have to be disciplined. That is my key. If I can say anything, is be disciplined. I don't care if I misspelled that. Be disciplined. That is key here. Be disciplined. Set your thresholds and be disciplined. Now, personally, I do not recommend, nor do I try to go out of this comfort level. I do not recommend having more than 2 to 3 speculative stocks in my portfolio. The more speculative stocks that you have, the more risk that you potentially have for loss. Again, the more possibility of profits you have as well, but I think the risk outweighs the reward when it comes to speculative stocks. I've seen it where people have made 500-600% on their money. They think it's going to keep going up, and then it drops, and then you sell it at like a 3% gain, or worse, they could sell it for a loss. So be disciplined. Understand what your profit and loss thresholds are for both short-term and speculative. I generally do not have a threshold for long-term because I know it's going to be long-term. The other thing to keep in mind is stocks generally only go up. Now, we're talking over the past, 100 years or so, stocks have gone up. Now, it could be a fast, growth. It could be a very slow growth, maybe a lot of sideways movement. But generally, for the past 100 years, stock prices have gone up. So just keep that in mind. If things start to drop, especially for your long term, you're in it for the long term. Okay? Know that most likely things will go back up. So hold on to them. Don't sell your long terms if it starts to dip. Just keep that strategy and be disciplined with it. What else? Oh, Al had also asked specifically about, are there things to look for? Are there ways to predict buying and selling opportunities? Again, I'm only going to talk to short-term and speculative, because long-term, you're in it for the long term. I would highly recommend learning as much as you can about reading stock charts and trend charts, right? There are hundreds of stock indicators out there. There's MACD, there's Ichimoku, there is the RSI line, there is the MFI line. There's so many ways to read stock charts and find trend lines and understand the numbers of volume and price, looking at, the ceiling of resistance versus the floor of support, understanding what those are. Highly recommend going out, reading up as much as you can. In the education section, I believe I posted 3 videos that talk specifically about reading candlestick charts on stocks and understanding how to read the candlesticks, understanding what they mean, and how to form trend lines utilizing those candlesticks. There's also a couple of videos around Ichimoku, around MACD. Those are some of the indicators that I specifically look at, and I've posted videos about those as well. So just to recap, hopefully I've answered and addressed the question that Al sent. 3 strategies that I use, again, my own personal strategies. Long term, it's a company, it's a stable company. You like the company, you like the direction it's heading. It's been around for a long time, and it's a long-term play. Long-term meaning like more than a year, possibly forever. It potentially pays dividends, and it could be even ETFs or index funds. Short-term, right, is something that's not as long-term. It's possibly something that you also like the company, but you maybe read about a merger or acquisition that's happening. They had a really good earnings call, and you are thinking the stock is going to go up, so you want to buy in, wait for it to hit whatever threshold. Remember, we talked about thresholds, whatever profit threshold that you think it's going to hit, and then sell it. And again, that could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a couple months. And then speculative stock. Speculative stock is something where you're hearing a lot of buzz about it. There's new companies on the market, new IPOs that are just getting on the market, and generally they're going to spike up and then crash. So maybe you want to get in on the ground running with them. Again, set your thresholds, do your research, read the charts as much as possible, and then know your thresholds and be disciplined about it. Okay, 40% profit is mine, and 25% loss is my threshold. Again, really appreciate the question now. I appreciate everybody participating in the investment group. Great questions. I hope I was able to answer it. I hope this video didn't go too long for you. But again, if you can take anything away from this, be disciplined. Thank you so much, and see you next time.